A lot of people haven't started building yet, and I had to hop on some one-on-one calls. In fact, when some people booked a call with me, that was the only thing that they had to ask me. Like, I want to get started. How do I set up a code? And when I tell them, oh, you need to be willing to invest a subscription, they're like, oh, can't I like try it out with a free tool or something before I commit? And I'm like, sorry, that time has passed. So Claude Code now only works for the pro account or the max account. If you want to be like us, do the max. But for now, you can also get the pro account and get a hang of it. But at the same time, I still want people to experiment with this. I still want people to try it out and see the power of this tool. I see why it's the most powerful tool that has been created in this generation and create great and amazing things with it. My hope and belief is that after this call, a lot of you guys will take the first step. That is why I decided to take a step back and put this out there for us, right? So I want to unleash Claude Code and open the access for all of us, all builders, all developers, all creators, because mind you, Claude Code can edit videos. It can create websites, just like I did in our first ever session. It can create slides. It even created this presentation, right? And even the one before. It can generate images. It can generate anything that you can think of, right? So I'm giving you guys the same power, but with zero subscription. Zero subscription, but you're using the same power, the same tool, right? And now, this is a problem. I already referenced it, but I'm going to say it again. Claude Code is bringing in over $1 billion every month to Anthropic. Show you how amazing it is, how many people are using and paying for this tool. People are not just paying for this tool. Companies are paying for their developers to have this tool. Stripe gave access to 1,000 developers in their company. And I think they were able to do a work that would have taken them 3 months within 4 days. They actually calculated that this work would take us 3 months to do. And when they get access to Claude Code in 4 days, they have converted like all their legacy codes into the latest code. That's just to give you an idea of what's possible. I gave someone access to Claude Code like 2 days ago, and he just kept saying, this is a cheat code. Bro, this is like amazing. But the problem with this is it has a paywall behind them, right? You're either paying for the $20 per month plan, or you're paying for the Claude Max plan, right? Which is $200. They have one of $100. Or you're paying for API tokens. And this is even more expensive because for every 1 million token, and I'm going to use 1 million token as a way to explain it, let's say for every 1 million messages, right? Text, words that you're sending to Claude, it's going to charge you about $30, right? $5 input for 1 million words. Let me just use words, right? And then for every output, for every message it returns back to you, it's going to give you $25, right? So now Claude actually decided to make it really easy for us. They subsidized the cost, right? And put everything in this max plan. So with this max plan, you're actually able to use what APIs worth of, let's say $2,000, right? That means you can have over 50 million tokens, right? Now, if I was going to use 50 million tokens, it's going to be around like $1,000, but I can do that with this, right? So that's why in Claude Max, there's no rate limits. The $100 plan, the $200 plan. But for people that are trying to work with the $20 plan, I think after some period of time, it's going to say, oh, you have to wait for 4 hours. And in a way, the 4 hours is even good because some people say that they haven't left their screen until the 4 hours rate limits. It's then they remember that they have a life. Or it's then they remember they have like a wife, responsibilities. I see all of that stuff on Instagram. But yeah, the main thing I'm talking about right now is that there's a cost, right? The barrier to entry is either you're willing to pay $20 a month and still have rate limits and wait for 4 hours before you resume. The problem with this is the moment you run out of your rate limits mid-session, that session dies completely, right? So you have to wait till your limit resets. So now what I want to help you guys is you want the same agentic power. You want the same tool, the ability for the agent to edit your files, just like you see it's creating code in the background for people creating trading bots, creating faceless videos and all of that stuff. You want it to also do multi-step reasoning. You want the autonomous coding loop, right? But you don't want to pay for this exaggerated prices, right? You just want to experiment. I don't want to pay all of this just to experiment, just to try it out, right? What if the price was $0? What if you never had to commit anything, right, to use this? That's what we're trying to do. So the promise is that we're going to have the same car, but a different engine. And we're also going to have free fuel at the end of the day. So today you're going to learn how to run Claude Code, and by Claude Code, the tool itself, right? The tool that allows you to build all of these things, the full agentic framework, but with free and budget model, right? Because there are models that are free and there are models that you just have to pay like pennies in order to get access to very powerful models, right? Instead of paying Anthropic directly, because as it stands right now, Anthropic is the most expensive model out there in terms of API costs. Like no one is actually billing and putting like a price tag to the level that Anthropic is doing, right? And most people are still going there because they love the output and the quality that they give. So it's like what the sacrifice at the end of the day, or what the investment, depending on what you're using it for, right? But let's say you don't have much of an investment, you just want to experiment and maybe try and play with this tool to the point that you start getting ideas. This is for you, right? What you're still going to have is the agentic coding loop, the ability for the agent to go and create code, to reason what you want to build, write the code for it. Because like I said, we are not writing a single line of code. The agent is going to do that. The agent is going to write his code. It's going to run its code. If there's any bug, it's going to test its code and fix the code. So that's what happens in the loop, right? So before Claude Code, how coders, software engineers will use AI was that they'll ask AI to code something for them. They'll take that code and run it. And if there's a bug, they go back to AI and say, there's a bug here. How do I get over this? And the AI will say, okay, try this. They take it back, and there's a lot of back and forth with no solution, right? Because the AI doesn't have a full view of the project. The AI doesn't understand what you're building. What you're just showing the AI is a bunch of codes. But when Claude Code came into the play, Claude Code had the ability to look at the entire project, not just that line of code you're showing, but everything in between, your database, your authentication, everything that makes your project tick. And anytime it's about to create a code, it actually has to look at your entire project. So that's that way, anything is recommending for you is foolproof. So yeah, that's one of the things we're going to keep. You're also going to keep the file reading and writing. Anytime you ask Claude Code to do something for you, before it does it, it has to read what you already have. Maybe you have edited something, or maybe you've changed something inside the file. It first has to read that file. And when it has read the file and said, okay, this is what this file has, it can then write and make modifications on the file. That's another powerful tool that you give to the AI. And then we have multi-step reasoning, the ability to reason in multiple steps. And the ability to know that after this, I'll do this. It can think like 10 steps ahead, as opposed to ChatGPT. By ChatGPT, I mean the chat, not Codex. When you give Chat a task, it's not going to reason in multiple steps. It's just going to reason in one step. But imagine you had an AI that you tell one thing and it knows for it to get this explanation, it has to go to the internet. It goes to the internet, reads the entire documentation on the internet. And then from the documentation, it finds that it needs to download something else. It then goes ahead to download that thing. And then when it downloads the thing, it realizes that it needs you to like maybe create an API key. Then it comes back and say, hey, give me an API key. You give the API key, it takes it and it does a lot of steps and then brings out like the best output or the best deliverable or the best app, right? So this is what the combination of these three is what makes Claude Code very powerful. And there's no way I can actually explain this to you that it will make sense than you trying it out for yourself. That's the only way you're going to understand this. You say, hey, Claude, create a folder for me. It creates a folder. Hey, Claude, create a website inside that folder. And Claude brainstorming, deciding what images to use for the website. It goes ahead to pick maybe like images from free websites and all of that stuff. This is all possible because of this framework. Now, I'm not going to spend much time here, but I wish I could. And then we also have the Claude Code skills. If you remember our first class, our first session, I created a skill that can clone a website. We also use Kapati skill. That thing he sent us was basically a skill to create your second brain. So everything that makes Claude Code powerful, yes, you're going to get. All we are doing is that we are swapping out the model, right? So that model that is $25 per million token, we are taking it out and we are just putting a free model. That's basically what we are doing. We are actually just changing the cost. We're taking away what is costing money and replacing it with a free model. So if you understand this image, that is basically the context of what I'm trying to do. So we're just taking out the model, which is Opus, right? And we're switching it with either Gemma, DeepSeek, Quen, Minimax. There are tons of them that we can get for $0. Now, mind you, they actually have paid versions of this tool. We're actually going for the free version. So like I said, Claude Code is like an F1 car. When we switch the model, we're just changing the engine. So yeah, same car, different engine, right? So what are we going to use? We're going to use something called OpenRouter, and I'm going to show you guys OpenRouter right now. So this is OpenRouter, right? It's a unified interface for LLMs, right? And I'm going to show you what that means in a few seconds. So with OpenRouter, you have one key that gives you access to everything. And by that, when I mean everything, 100 of models, right? You get access to Claude, you get access to Gemini, Gemma, DeepSeek, Quen, the list goes on and on. If I click on models, you see there's DeepSeek, right? There's Google Gemini, there's VO3 for videos. So you can actually use just one API and connect to all of these models. With one API key, you can generate videos with VO3, can generate images with Flash, You can use any of these models. See Xiaomi. I never even knew there was a Xiaomi model. ChatGPT 5.4 Image 2, the new image model that just came out a few days ago that has been taking the internet by storm. With one API key, you can have access to Kling, the Kling model that everyone talks about, Mistral, Moonshot. This is mind-blowing, guys. You have Gemini text-to-speech, Seedance 2.0, the best video model out there right now. The problem before this was, if I wanted to use API from Claude, I have to create an account with Claude. If I want to use API from ChatGPT or Google, I have to create an API key with them. So a lot of keys in my hand just to use each of those models. But with OpenRouter, it's like a gateway that gives you a single API key. And with that API key, you have access to hundreds of AI models, just like I mentioned. So instead of signing up, like I said, to all of these platforms separately, you sign up once to OpenRouter and pick whichever model you want, including the free ones. And there are a lot of free ones there. I'm going to show you that in a few seconds. So some models are actually completely free. And when you check them out and compare them with the pricing, you find out that, whoa, this is insane. While others cost pennies, like models DeepSeek, models like Quen, they cost pennies. So OpenRouter is a way you just get one API and then you can have access to literally hundreds of different AI models. You get access to all of these models. And if you can see, there's a free one right here. Can you see? Free. And now there are two ways to use AI models. You either use them on cloud with the API keys, right? Or if you have a crazy system and like a stacked out system, a system that has, let's say, over 64 gig of RAM, right? Then maybe, just maybe, you might be able to host some of these models offline on your own machine. But I'm going to get more into that. This is the key that gives you access to all these models, right? Because of the response I got from a lot of you, I had to really dive deep and research ways to reduce the barrier of entry, to make it so that anyone can actually use this model. I know Claude might be angry at me for doing this, but I'm also going to put a disclaimer that I am still vouching and I'm still going to be an ambassador for Claude. And the idea of doing this is not to say, don't use Claude, use this, but more try it out for free and don't keep yourself waiting for the perfect time or for when you're ready to start using this tool, right? So just in case this goes out there, I'm not advocating against Claude. So that's it. Literally one setting, right? We get the same agentic coding frameworks for free. You don't want to ask Opus 4.6, how are you doing? Or what was the weather like today? Because you're going to be burning a lot of tokens, right? A lot of cost. But you can use that with Gemini because it's basically pennies, right? Literally a penny. And you also get somewhat or a really nice quality at the end of the day. You can even step it lower to Minimax, which I told you is also a very good coding model. And Minimax charges about 30 cents for a million tokens. So if you just take a look at 30 cents as opposed to $5, that's a lot, right? This is over 10x. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. And you also get relatively good programming at the end of the day, 8 over 10. It can still do like almost every task, right? And then you see free models, like I just mentioned, we have step 3.5, costs you 0, and you still get 7 over 10. At the end of the day, it's all about what you want, right? So you want a free model that still gives you somewhat of a good quality above average, and you know that whatever you're doing is more like an experiment, or you're not trying to, at the end of the day, run this in production. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can always use a free model like Gemma or DeepSeek or Quen. They have models that charge you nothing. I get a quality that is on par with Opus 4.6. So what I'm just trying to say is, for instance, Gemini Flash is roughly 10% of the price, and you still get 85% of the quality. That is a good steal, if you ask me, for people that maybe want to be cost effective, right? So let's say you don't want to pay like $20 upfront. You can have $5 and you still get a lot done. So you can code for 10 times longer for the same price points if you're using like a cheaper model. But if you want quality, if what you're doing, you plan to like maybe sell it, right? You plan to market it. At some point, you might want to upgrade your quality. So that's basically it. So in hindsight, this is what I'm trying to say. So the higher the pricing, like Claude, for instance, is more premium. The budget is somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle, but you also get a relatively good 8 over 10, which is still good if you ask me. And then for experiments, for side projects, for hobbies, using the 3 will still get you in the door. You're not paying anything, but the quality is going to be lower. You don't expect to put $0 and get the quality of something that people are paying like $30 for. Some of you might be wondering, if these models are free, why not just run it locally? Now, the truth is, yes, you can. There's a tool called Ollama. So this is Ollama. Ollama is a way to open models, right? So they have a library of models, different models. So this is for people that have with a 16 gig MacBook, or if you have a gaming laptop that has like high capacity, you can actually download this, and you never have to connect to the internet to reach out to an AI. The AI lives in your computer. But let me look for Kimi. Let me look for Kimi 2.5. I just want to show you like something. So this is Kimi 2.5. It already has over 257K downloads. This is Quen. Quen is really good at coding. Just take a look at this. So you have Quen models that are going up to 70 gig. So you need about 70 gig of RAM to use this model. Like they don't go above 16 gig. But even with the 32 gig RAM, you still might not be able to install this model because you still need a breathing room for RAM for your system to do other things. So when I say if you want to install things like this, you need to have a really powerful system. Like I just showed you Quen, it's going to cost you nothing. This is a very tiny model. You can run it even on your phone, right? A very tiny model. But the thing is, the quality of output on this model, this Gemma has 4 billion parameters. This one has 480 billion parameters. This one is almost 300 gigs. It's going to be a lot financially if you want to install a local model like this. So the only people that are able to do this are like companies, enterprises, right? So the small models, you can run on any basic laptop, but they're very weak and they'll struggle with complex coding tasks. In fact, I remember a friend of mine was trying to mess with a local model. He wanted to see the limits of what his gaming PC can do. He installed this local model, and when he said, "How are you?" It's the agent almost 5 minutes to respond. For you to be able to have models like this, you actually have to invest in expensive hardware, right? But now, if you don't have the money to invest in the expensive hardware, you can actually use these same models for free on OpenRouter. If you're going to run this locally on your system, it's going to spin off your computer if possible, and it's going to heat up pretty fast. But if you're using the OpenRouter, you get to use it for free, right? And you get instant access. Not only is it faster, it's easier to set up because you just need to get your API keys. It's scalable and it's more affordable at the end of the day. So how do you get it set up? So first up, you have to go to OpenRouter. You just create an account, click on API keys and create a new key. Click here, click on credits. And then you see, I even have some credits here and I haven't even used it that much because of how free the models are. You can put a limit if you have like actual credits inside. I want to use some of the paid models. You can actually put a limit just to be cost effective. And then you can also put expiration dates if you want, or you can make it for a year. So the APIs don't last forever in case, gets it or hacks it. So just best practices for security. You get over here, you're not going to use this. I'm just showing you guys. And so you copy the API key and save it somewhere. You create the API key, you name it, you copy it. Now just put $10 there so that you don't get rate limited. You copy the key and you're going to use it in the next step. Like I said, we are only changing a few lines of code, right? Just one file. This is the config file, and this is all we are doing, right? We're going to create a folder called .claude, and inside that folder, we're going to create something called settings.json. It might look confusing to some of you. Basically, it's telling Claude Code, point the URL to OpenRouter. This is OpenRouter.ai API stuff, pointing to where the API key is, right? So that's what this is doing. The second line is where you're going to paste your OpenRouter key. And the last line is where you're going to put what model you want. We're taking out this Claude and we're putting the model that we want. So that's all we're changing. I'm going to show you how to do that. When you created your account, you're going to come here. Normally what I do is I filter from pricing, low to high. And then I can just check which models to use. So you see this model is free, this model is free, this model is free. This ones are cheap. Just look for anywhere you see free. See another free here, free. Then you can just pick the model. But now the thing is, because it's free, you can bet that a lot of people are using it just like you're using it. Like the spikes are really high. So sometimes when you try to use it, you might get an error. And that's because a lot of people are using it at the same time, right? So you're going to be struggling for resources. What I would advise us to do is there is another model called Free Models Router. So this is Free Models Router. Free Models Router is just a simple way to get free access, right? Free inference. So basically it's connected to a couple of models. As you can see, there are different models here, right? So when you send a request, instead of maybe you're trying to use Gemma or you're trying to use DeepSeek, and then you get rate limited or you get an error that you can't use it because there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of demand or a lot of pull. What this does is it finds the most available AI model and it just links you there, right? It just sends you there. As you can see, there's one from NVIDIA. So NVIDIA has a free model and there's another model from NVIDIA here. And if you look here, you see the consumption. You see how many people are using it, right? So you can see So that just explains it for you. So basically, this is what I would advise us to use. What you just do is you come here and you copy this. So this is the model name. This is what you're going to put here. But you can also go try, but if I advise you, you just want to get some simple stuff done, you can use this router. It's just going to route it among the top 5, anyone that's most available. But if you want a specific model, you can go for it and just keep trying every free one that's there till you find what's available. So you either find a free model that you like this, just saw this one now, or you can get any of these models, right? You click into the model, and this is what you're going to get. You're going to copy the model name. You're copying the model name and you save it with your API keys. For this demo, I'm using a free router. Then I can go back to my Claude Max. Let's assume you've installed Claude. Let's just jump into the demo. I already have it set up here. You open a new window, right? This is anti-gravity. You could use VS Code or any tool you use. You click on open new folder. You're going to create a new folder. For me, I created pre-Claude, right? And let's assume you click into the folder. The folder is going to be empty, right? So the first thing you're going to do is that you're going to create a folder, this folder. And how do you create a folder? You just click on this new folder, and then you click .Claude. What you're going to do, .Claude. And then you click on this one. This one is new file. So first we created the folder, we open the folder, and then we create a new file, as you see. Then in this new file, you're just going to click settings.json. I'm not going to do that because I've already done it, but you get the point. Then you copy this and paste it into your JSON folder. Paste it inside your JSON folder, and that's what you're looking at. That's what you're looking at right now. Once you paste it in there, it's not going to show you this. It's going to show you this, your OpenRouter API key. So all you're going to do is that key you got, you replace it there. So that's what I did. Just pasted it there. This will already be there, right? Like I said, this is where it's going to point to. This is what points it to OpenRouter. This is my key, and this is my model, right? So if you take a look here, that's what I use, OpenRouter/free, right? You don't have to put anything here. This one is supposed to be left intentional. Anthropic API key, leave it empty. Anthropic auth token, that is where you're going to put this. Anthropic base URL, that's where you're going to put this. So basically, you're telling Claude Code, when you want to respond, go to this URL, use this key to talk to this model. It's as simple as that, right? As you can see, I had a conversation with it. I said, hey, it said, hello, I'm Claude Code, your coding assistant. I see you're in this directory. How can I help you? What model are you using? Okay, so sometimes if you're using the model and let's say there's a lot of demand on it, you might see an error just like this. But yeah, let me run it one more time. Exit. Okay, so all I have to do, I'll just close this again so I can open it for you to see. I'll click on my extension. This just opens Claude for me in my browser. So click on Claude, and you can see OpenRouter/free. That's what I'm using, OpenRouter/free. You can say, hey, and it's normally supposed to, unless there's a lot of demand or a lot of people trying to access it at the time. But as I'm saying, hey, it's going to think and it's going to respond back to me. Hey, how can I assist you today? I'm here to help you with any software engineering tasks, questions, or projects you might have. So I just showed you how, because if you go back and you check my usage, let me just go back. I know I have some credits there, but if you check my usage, you see that I haven't consumed anything. Let me see how I can find it. This was, okay, great. So you see, so I used this model just now, right? Okay, try to call this model, but there was a lot of demand on it. Then it used this model. So you can see false was zero, right? So this is what I was trying to explain to you guys. So for free, I'm using Claude Code right now. So I went from using a tool that cost me $20 to using a tool for $0, right? And see how many tokens it has given. So this is just what is possible with Claude, right? Yeah, I'm sure this might be mind-blowing for some of you because you know how long you have waited to probably use Claude, and now you have someone like using Claude for the first time for free, right? So that's basically how it works. You can also go global, but I'm not going to do that right now because I already have my main Claude Max plan that is running. But what I did was that I created the free plan to work for just one project, right? Just that project that I created the file for. So if I open this file explorer, you can see the folder. So this .claude settings.json is inside this folder I created, this test folder that I created. this particular folder. So if I open Claude somewhere else in another project, or I open it in my terminal, it's going to use my main Claude. But for now, it's using the project. In this resource, I'm going to show you guys how to actually make this for your global file, or you can just tell Claude to make this global. So what it's going to do is that it's going to open the main folder. Let me just do that for you right now. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my terminal. It's going to open my terminal. And then I'm going to paste it there. And boom, it opens the Claude. This is like my global settings, right? Let me switch to, let me switch. So this is my global settings. So all I'm going to look for is this settings.json, right? And inside this settings.json, I'm going to open it here. I will then paste that stuff, right? The stuff that we got here. I'll paste this into this one. I'm just going to add a line. I'm just going to, let's see, I'm just going to add a line and paste it here. And then you have Claude has access to the free model across all your projects. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to alter the paid version I have. But as far as this particular project, right? As far as I'm in this project, conversing with this Claude, it is going to be free, right? So that's the way to use Claude. There are two ways to use Claude. You can use it in your project or you can use it globally, right? So that's what I mean by that. So you can go global by just copying the same thing into the global settings, basically. You see how easy it is to swap models? If you want to swap a model, all you have to do is just go to OpenRouter, go to the models. Let's say if that model is not working, look for another free model, click on the free model, copy it, go back to your settings.json. I clicked on it, so it opened here. Let me just put it here so you can see, right? Take this out, paste the next model. You paste the next model like this. I just pasted the next model. I go back to Claude. Let's see. Let me save it first. And go back to Claude, save. Go back to Claude and I exit to close it. It's closed now, as you can see. And now run Claude again. And as you can see, it's now running inclusion link 2.6. It's not running OpenRouter again, right? So it's using this inclusion guy. And I can say the inclusion, I can put it, hey. So you see, it's working. And we're going to get a response. This one, unfortunately, this one's going away April 30th. So you have 6 more days to play around with it. But yeah. So in terms of speed and maybe quality, it might be lacking, but you still get it done, right? It still works for you, right? So that's the only trade-off. You see, in less than 10 seconds, I was able to swap out the model. So you can open router, you go to the config blog, you paste in the charts, but you detect Claude the way it's acting and you want to switch it, you do the same thing. So that's basically it. So that way, your skills travel with you anywhere. Right now, I can use any skill I want, right? Because Claude still has all its capabilities, right? Hello, how can I help you? Are you looking for assistance with a specific task? I can say, okay, I don't know if I've installed this skill for Claude. Let me see. So these are all the skills I have right now. Front-end designer. What are the trade-offs, right? Because free is real, but it's not magic, right? So free models can throttle you mid-session, but like you saw the other one, it showed an error because a lot of people are on it. So some days it works perfectly. Other days you have to wait or you have to switch a model. In terms of performance, you get something within 6 to 7 over 10, right? But with Claude Opus, you're getting a 10 over 10. So the thing is, once you start getting a hang of using free models and then you switch over to Opus, you're going to be mind blown because the quality is different. They'll make more mistakes. They might miss edge cases. They might write sloppier code. So the performance is not anywhere near as good as using Claude Opus 4.7. And in terms of speed, the responses can be slower on free tiers due to the fact that it's a shared infrastructure. You're not the only one using it. And they made it free so everyone can use it. So that's going to drag a little bit on the performance on the server. So like I said, there's a trick. If you put $10, right? If you deposit $10, even if you're using a free model, you're going to see that you're not going to be rate limited. You're not going to be shut out, right? You don't need to necessarily spend it, but just having it, you get better access. I don't know how it works, but trust me, it just works. So yeah, with the free, you get 0 cost, no subscription, and you can use any model, right? But that's if you're using the $10 trick. But if you're not using the $10 trick, you're going to have rate limits, lower quality, and it's going to be slower, right? So let's take a look at the agent. Okay, the agent is already working on it. So correct color, this, typography, this, the output with this includes audio section. Okay, so this is the design. I can say, okay, go ahead and build the HTML page here. Okay, so giving it the task and it's doing that for free. But when do you decide to pay? When is the best time to pay? Because like free is for learning. and paid is for earning, right? So this is what I think, right? You can use these free models when you're trying to learn, when you're trying to experiment. You can also use it for your personal projects if you probably want to bootstrap this or you don't have any money to start. This is what you can use for your side builds, right? For prototyping, maybe let's say you have an idea, you just want to see the idea and you don't really want to commit funds to it. You can do that before committing a budget. Once the idea starts to take life, once you start to get eyes on it, once people want you to take this to the next level, you will see that you're willing to now invest in it. And also, if you've gone through your Claude tokens, for my people that are using maybe the Pro, right? Let's say you use it up to the point and it stopped you halfway and you have to wait for 4 hours. Now you can just swap out the model, put another very powerful model that is free, and you can keep going, right? So you don't necessarily have to wait. When do you use paid models? You use paid models for clients' work with real deliverables, right? You don't want to be using a pretty cheap model when you're dealing with an actual work that you're being paid for. Also, it's production code. Let's say the code that you're using is actually going to be used by real users. It's actually going to be used by people paying for this software, right? You need it to be reliable. You need it to be trustworthy. So it is worth the investment to ensure that nothing breaks and when they turn to you and like, what's happening? You're like, oh, I use a free model, right? And then for sensitive data, right? Paid models, they have better security guarantees. And with the thing that I care most about is speed. Speed matters, and I can't afford to have rate limit delays. That's why I decided to switch, and I love speed. So free doesn't always mean cheaper, but you spend with your time and you spend correcting mistakes. And that's one thing I always used to tell myself, that if it will cost me 10 hours to do something and I can actually pay for it and get it done in an hour, and I won't have to even make corrections or anything, I will take it happily, right? Because if I can decide to go for cheap, and then I spend my time, I spend like 5 hours trying to fix it and then correcting mistakes and all that stuff. So it's really tedious for me. So I definitely would encourage all of us to start with free when we are just curious, when we want to explore, when we want to try out these tools, when we are testing things, when we are building like a hobby development, right? But if you're doing something for a client, I definitely recommend that you use Claude Opus, right? The only thing more expensive than professional is an amateur. So yeah, so clients work and deliverables, you must use it. For security purposes and for professional support, you have to use paid models. I remember working with someone, they used free models. In fact, they never believed in the concept of any paid models. We had a back and forth for almost 2 weeks. And it got to a point I asked him, like, what tool are you using? Because I haven't been in this situation for this long. And he said, oh, I use ChatGPT free. And then sometimes I switch to Gemini. And I asked him, like, is it paid models? And the reaction I got was like, how will I use paid models? Nah, that can't be me, that kind of stuff. And I told him that's the reason why we are still on this for 2 weeks, right? That's the reason why you're still back and forth, because the moment you send 3 to 4 messages on your free ChatGPT, you see, you get a message, oh, you have to wait till tomorrow. Sometimes some models will tell you to wait for a week. I remember Gemini, I was using free Gemini. Anti-gravity, I was using, I think, Gemini 3.1 Pro. I was so happy using it, and it told me I have to wait for a week. So that's the issue with using free tools. You have to spend more time waiting, and their output is not as great. So I told him, you know what? I'm going to give you access to my Claude Code for a day, and I want to see what you can do with it. And believe you, the moment I gave him the Claude Code, he finished the thing that took him 2 weeks. By the evening, he got a message in the evening like, I'm done. He started praising how amazing this tool is. But the truth is, it's not really about the tool, because you had access to the same AI. The only difference was one was paid and one was free. So I just want you guys to take that back with you and know when to use free and when to use the paid model. So this is what I want you guys to do. Go to OpenRouter, right? Create an account, generate that API key, create the .plot folder, and inside of it, create the settings.json, paste the code, paste this code, right? I don't want to call it code, but yeah, paste this in, paste your key in here. Mind you, always keep the quotes, right? Paste your key inside the quotes and choose a free model and paste the free model here. You can use free models rather to see the ones that people are using, right? Nematron. You see the top 4 right now is NVIDIA. And this is the percentage of people using it. People have used it for 2 billion tokens in the span of this time. 2 billion tokens, 2 billion tokens. So you can see that a lot of people are using it right now at the moment. So I encourage you guys to get on board with this, start testing it out, just start playing with this tool. The more you use it, the more hooked you get, the more ideas come to you, and the more you want to build something. I hope with this video, you can start your journey. By the way, let's see what it created. I've totally completed the tags. The page has been created. HTML, this. Okay. Trying to find where it is. Where is it located so I can open it. on the HTML. Hey, let's see, skills restored. Okay, so see everything it did. These are all the steps. This is what makes AI really great. The fact that it can actually do all of this stuff. But anyways, I'm just going to draw the curtains here. I'm sure you guys get the point, and you've seen me create websites like from scratch before. So this ain't nothing new. But yeah, the framework now is free. The models are swappable. The only thing that you need to pay for now is your curiosity. Go out there, play with this tool, experiment with it, swap models, try which model is better than which free model. And then when you're ready to hop into action, like real action, real client work, or you want to take things more seriously, then you can subscribe for the paid version. And I always advise go for Claude, right? Because Claude is the best model out there. Claude is faster. Some people want to argue that ChatGPT is good. I know ChatGPT is good. So you can also use OpenAI 5.4, 5.5, and use Codex. But the main point is it doesn't really matter what tool you're using. The whole point of this was to push you guys to start building, because a lot of blockers came from paid versus free. So now you have a free way to go and do it. And it's all just a copy and paste, right? It's all just taking this and pasting it. How hard could it be? At the end of the day, you do that and you have your model responding to you and telling you everything you need to do. So guys, I want to encourage all of us to take this as a horn, right? As a jump start and just run with it.